Like I said, don't be afraid to learn from your mistakes. In fact, learn everything you can at any moment you can. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name's StepsBasic, and welcome back to my community show. So anyway, on to the announcements for today. First of all, sorry I missed last week. I posted on Twitter about it, but I made a video that was controversial. I wouldn't really call it controversial, but especially my opinion on it. But I didn't want to stir up any drama. I didn't want any annoying people popping in saying you're wrong and I hate you for it, sort of thing. So I, got right up to the last 10 minutes of before upload, and I was like, no, cancel it. Yeah, I chickened out. But it's okay. I mean, I know I teased it the week before. I was like, I got a big old political video that I've been holding off on. It's not really political, but, again, open to interpretation. And society these days being weird as it is, with everything being political. But anyway, that's enough of that. Push that away. On to the rest of the announcements. We are moving right along with The Last of Us Part 2. Now that I got my capture card and it's working, it's awesome. And I love it. Well, there are some issues. I'm pretty sure one of the cables I'm using is dead or dying because I'm getting screen tearing, and it doesn't always pick up the signal, which says to me that maybe my last capture card didn't die, but the cable gave out. That could be annoying. But anyway, so we're moving along with Last of Us Part 2 and also A Plague Tale: Innocence, which will be done probably within the next couple of weeks. I don't know for sure, but I know there's like 17 chapters in it, and I'm starting chapter 12. I'm starting either chapter 12 or chapter 13, one of the two, this next episode. So it's going to be great. I'm going to be going with just The Last of Us 2 and Plague Tale for the next week, because I don't like having two concurrent series running at the same time. I know that may sound weird, but considering my past, but moving along. Also started a new series, which is the I Need a New Job series, which is my take on simulation games and whatnot. And I thought that's going to be a great fun series, to do for a while. Probably won't be every week, but apart from that, we are done with our announcements. So move on to the topic for today. I'm going to warn you straight away that this is a stream of consciousness video. Not quite unlike all my other videos, but in this case, when I call it a stream of consciousness video, it's when I pick a more serious topic and talk about it for a little bit. And today's topic is the other philosophical question that is dangerous. Now, I talked before about the question of why bother, and that is a question often centered in despair and loss of hope and sadness and whatnot. Like, why should I even bother getting out of bed today, sort of deal. And today's is going to take the opposite approach, which is a case of false hope, the what if question. We've all been there. Now, of course, I'm not talking about like trivial things like, what if we put bananas in this bread and see what that tastes like? Sorts of things that aren't really based in hope or anything, but the big old questions. Like, for instance, I was in a car accident, I want to say the other day, because I don't know how many years ago it was. So I was in a car accident the other day, and ultimately it came down to, I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was not getting back to bed anytime soon, so I'm like, you know what, I'll just go to the store, pick me up some stuff real quick. Hopped in the car, drove to the intersection, and I didn't see the car on the street, on the side street across from me, because it's really hard to explain, but the road is like this. We got my road, we got the main road, and then we got kind of catty corner off to it is another side road. And I was driving a different car. I was driving a rental because my other car had actually just broken down. So there I am, sitting in this new car, this rental car, at the intersection. I couldn't see the other road because the placement of the rearview mirror was different. And so I pulled out to drive. I didn't see the truck, turned at the same time, slammed into the side of the truck, spun the truck out. And the funny part is I was driving like a Toyota Matrix, and I don't think it was tiny compared to that truck, but it knocked that truck for a loop. Doesn't take a whole lot, does it? Good news is, I should probably lead with this. Both drivers were fine. Me, I was fine. He was fine. Cop showed up, pulled us off to the 7-Eleven, which was actually the store I was going to. So, woo. I didn't really talk with the driver, but the driver was young. He was like young 20s. He was an adult, but he was not an old adult. You know, he was living with his parents still and going to work that morning. And I got to talk with his parents, and I told his parents straight up, I'm sorry. I have no idea how I missed the giant truck in the other road. And Dad was pretty cool. He was like, hey, no problem. I know it's an accident, and that's why they're called accidents. And talked to the police officer. She was pretty cool. Everybody was nice. I was definitely at fault there, and I was not going to try to pretend that I wasn't. But, that spawned for at least the next week the what if question. What if I hadn't have gotten up at 4 o'clock? Well, then obviously I wouldn't have missed the accident. I wouldn't have been there for the accident. What if I had gone to the other 7-Eleven, which is equidistant from my house as the other 7-Eleven is, but, don't have any main thoroughfares. So it's like just a little bit of a different route, as it were. What if I'd have, gone to the bathroom before I left? What if, you're seeing the point here? I was asking all of these questions, and it didn't matter because the accident happened already. I had to go to court. I had to answer for my negligence and all that fun stuff. But the what if questions were there. And it's why I call it the question of false hope. Because it's like in some way you're trying to provide an answer of how you could have avoided it. And it's like, I know how I could have avoided it. That's not the point. It's already happened. I cannot fix it now. And that's what happens. That's why the what if questions is particularly dangerous in the mental state, as it were. Especially if you already suffer from paranoia or anxiety or whatever, because it just gets you worked up. Like, I was so stupid. I should have been able to avoid this. I should have not been there at that point. But it's too late. You already were. And I've talked to my friends about this before. I've told them, avoid the what if question, because the what ifing, it doesn't do any good. All it does is just make you more depressed and more anxious. And in a lot of ways, it can lead you to make more mistakes later on. Now, learning from your mistakes is not a bad thing. Like, I haven't gone for a drive at 4 o'clock in the morning since then. Admittedly, I also don't get up at 4 o'clock in the morning very often. So, me not going for a drive at 4 o'clock is not, that hard to avoid. But at the same time, I did also learn to duck under and look at the road to make sure. And I always do that now. And learning from your mistakes is good. Questioning how you could have avoided those mistakes while potentially leading you to learn from them is more detrimental. Like, I was tired. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't getting back to bed anytime soon, but I was still very tired. And I made mistakes because of that. Is that to say that if I'd have been more awake, that I would have not made those mistakes? Possibly. But how can we tell? Because the mistakes were made. And we all make mistakes. Like the gentleman said, accidents happen. That's why they're called accidents. We don't mean to do them. And, long story short, was 6 months later, settled in court. I had to take a driving class for a while to avoid losing any points off my license. My insurance covered everything. My insurance premium went up. And, I faced the consequences of poor decisions. But the what if did not help anything, because I know how to drive. I rarely get in accidents. in my life, I can say I have been in 3 accidents, been involved in 3 accidents, and only one of them was surely my fault. And that was the one I mentioned, pulling out and slamming into the side of the truck. There was also one where this person in my apartment complex, many eons ago, stopped in the middle of the street to talk to somebody, or stopped in the middle of the drive, the parking lot, to talk to somebody on the sidewalk. And they were stopped there for a little while, a decent amount of time to say, like, oh, they're not moving. So I went to go around them, and they turned and slammed into the side of my car. Yeah, that was their fault. Although, admittedly, what if I had just been a little more patient and waited? Then I wouldn't have been hit, obviously. I don't need to ask these questions. The problem being, of course, that, if you live in that moment, you just keep getting stuck there. What if I had done this? What if I hadn't have been there? What if I had blah, blah, blah? What if? Then you get stuck in that moment and you fail to grow. You fail to move on. You fail to become better. And that's what the false hope question is it gives you false hope in that you could have fixed it. You can fix it, but you can't. Like I said, don't be afraid to learn from your mistakes. In fact, learn everything you can at any moment you can. But don't live in that moment indefinitely. Find ways to move beyond it. Find ways to stop asking, what if? Take the lessons of the event. 1, don't go driving at 4 o'clock in the morning if you're incredibly tired. 2, always check your blind spots. 3, take responsibility for your actions. And 4, be polite. People like polite people. That's 4 good lessons that people learn. The funny part is, I knew all 4 of those things before I went driving at 4 o'clock in the morning. I knew to check my blind spots, and I usually do. I didn't check underneath the mirror because I don't usually have to, and it just didn't occur to me. I look across at the street, I can generally see the street, and if there's somebody parked there waiting to turn, I can generally tell. The mirror was a little lower, so I couldn't even see the street, and it was 4 o'clock in the morning, so it was dark. I know to check my blind spots. 4 o'clock in the morning is nothing good ever happens at 4 o'clock in the morning. Nobody ever screams for joy when somebody gets a phone call at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's never a good time. I'm just very glad neither of us were hurt. Nothing serious, shaken up for sure. And for the longest time, every time I came to that intersection, I got the PTSD of it. You pull up to that intersection and then all your nerves just go on end like, oh dear God, we're going to crash. We just got here. Relax, buddy. It's fine. One thing I do want to mention, with this series, I know we've got a few newcomers on the channel who may or may not have been enjoying this series. I know this is actually still one of my more popular series, but at any moment, if you have something you want to hear me talk about, stream of consciousness, video games, superheroes, etc., I will talk about it. I know usually this is kind of a video game centric channel, and this used to be mostly video game centric topics, but then I decided to branch out. What the heck is my channel? Shut up, I do what I want. But if you have any questions or topics you want to hear about, then I am more than welcome, more than happy to pick any topic you want to hear about. But apart from all that, that's going to be it for me for today. Just remember to stay away from the dangers of the what ifs and the why bothers. There are other questions that can be just as detrimental to your health, but those two I think are the biggest. Why bother leads to much to despair, to stay and not to grow and become better, and the what if leads you to live too much in the past rather than learning, growing, and being better. Maybe it's the same thing. How about that? Always be learning, always learn, and always grow. Don't be afraid to move and learn new things and become a better person, It's always the best part. But anyway, like I said, apart from that, that's going to be it for me for today. Thank you all so much for joining me for this community show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you did, please go poke that like button. If you'd like to see more from me, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And of course, as always, you are more than welcome to do comment in the comment section down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If I can. All that jazz, and tune in next time for another topic, another time. And until then,